Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Inspired to Resign Weekly Wisdom. We are so glad you are here with us this week. We have a special guest, as we always do. We have a great guest with us this week. We have Gabe Nelson, and I want to tell y'all, we want to talk to you guys about how to get your finances set up so that you can be living the dream that you want. How do you make this transition to go from the employees to entrepreneurs and have that financial success? Because I know it's a question that comes up for so many of you as you're thinking about leaving the job and that security and clinging to that paycheck that's coming in. And how do you make it happen without having so much stress and overwhelm and trying to figure out those things, and putting those plans in place are so important. Now, Gabe has 25 years of financial service in the financial services industry and more than a decade as a business owner. Gabe understands the importance of independent, objective, trusted advice. We all want that trusted advice, don't we? And he is here to share that with us. He is excited about his clients' dreams just as much as they are. So Gabe also believes in strong relationships, both professionally and personally. And after marrying his wife Melissa in 1995, they started a family and have 3 daughters, Lauren, Avery, and Lydia. And you may see him at a local coffee shop, meeting with his clients, snowboarding in Colorado, or perfecting his stroke on the golf course. I love it, Gabe. I'm so glad you're here with us. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in this industry.
Oh, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate this. I got started in the financial services industry as a little bit of and I'm trying to think of the right wording to say, but it's a little bit of all right, fine, I'll go do my own thing. When I was in college, I was working for my future father-in-law, and I was getting a taste of self-employment. And what I did in college is I went around, had 2 jobs. Part of it was going around and filling vending machines at different companies early in the morning. And then in the afternoon, after I got done with classes, I would go out and I was trying to sell a coffee service to different businesses. And this was before the days of Starbucks everywhere in South Dakota and Caribou and, great coffee. It was usually, crappy Folgers coffee that people were serving in their offices. So I went in to try to sell a premium coffee. I would bring in the machines and I would set it all up. And then I was really just selling a service. And I had this great taste of self-employment, got my butt kicked, but then turn around and figure out how to do it, and had some great success after having some of that beginning stages of trying to go out and sell and do things. Well, what happened is I started to get a taste of this self-employment piece, and I started to kind of hope to go into the family business with my future father-in-law, and it just really wasn't going to work out. And so I happened to be, talking to a friend of mine at the time who was older than me. And long story short, he's just like, maybe you should go into the insurance and financial services industry. And I looked at him and I literally dropped an F-bomb. I'm like, no way. I'm not doing that. Yeah, keep in mind, I'm like 22 years old. No way. Well, long story short, I decided to take a look at it. And I fell in love with the freedom that it provided me, and had an opportunity to start a business from absolutely nothing and built it up. And it was more in the insurance side of the game. And I didn't love the insurance side of the game. And so I morphed my way into the financial advisory side. But the simple piece is every job I've ever had, ever since I was a little kid, always had freedom attached to it. And so when I started thinking about what kind of life I wanted to live when I graduated from college, is I wanted to have freedom. And that's what put me into the insurance and financial services world. And that's kind of how it worked.
Awesome. And I love that you use the word freedom, right? It was looking for that freedom, because that's what so many of our listeners are looking for. They're looking for that freedom, that independence, that flexibility that comes with owning your own business. But we know it's not always easy. And so we want to make sure people are set up for success from the beginning. So share with us, what are some of the steps that you think a person should be taking when they're thinking about making that transition before they actually turn in the resignation?
Well, the first thing that I would say is this: make sure that you have clients. Everybody's got $1 million idea, but not everybody's willing to pay for the $1 million idea. And so what I would do is I would, first of all, before you do anything, before you think about making that change, is make sure that you have a consistent revenue stream coming in so that you have figured out a way to generate revenues. Because if you don't have revenues, you don't have a business. So I would say that's step one. Step two then is start to get your financial house in order, because usually it's not. I mean, most people are not, financially set. But then once you start to work on that financial piece, is now start to think about, okay, where am I at in my emergency savings piece? And I'm starting at the basics. Are you at 3 months of living expenses? Are you at 6 months of living expenses? Or do you have 12 months of living expenses? Where are you at? I would say shoot for 6 to 12, because you're going to make this change. You're going to lose that guaranteed paycheck. You're going to have to get benefits. You're going to have, unless you have a spouse that's working, you're going to have a lot of things that you're going to need to be doing and paying for. And probably what's going to happen when you make that change, just because this is how the world works, you're going to lose your biggest client because something is going to happen. And so what I would say is start with your emergency savings. Once you know you've got that piece taken care of, you have revenues coming in. Now you have the basis of a business and the basis to give you protection if you have a down month, so that you don't look at your significant other, your spouse, your partner, or whatever, and go, holy crap, I don't know what I'm going to do. I better go back and get my job again. Because you don't want to do that. You didn't go make this change to do that. You made this change to have the freedom that comes with it. So start with emergency savings. Once you then have that piece, now you need to start thinking about the pieces of your business, of how you're going to run your business. Who are your ideal clientele? Who do you really want to work with? And then how do you charge appropriately? Because a lot of times people make this change and they go, well, my company was billing me out at $100 an hour, so I'm going to go bill out at $100 an hour. No. You don't remember that $100 an hour is what they were billing for you. You have overhead, you have payroll taxes, you have insurance, you've got expenses you have to pay, and you got taxes you're going to have to pay, because now you're going to be self-employed.
Absolutely.
And so those are the things that I would say in the very, very beginnings that you have to start to get in place, so that when you make this switch, you can do it without a ton of stress going, where's my next paycheck going to come from? Because then you get too hungry, and that's not always good.
Yes. Getting the too hungry. And I think that's, a key point. And so much of what you said, completely agree with everything you said. I just wanted to highlight a few things because I think it's so critical, and I don't think people recognize it enough, right? The first thing is, make sure you have paying clients, and add the word paying into that. Make sure you've got paying clients coming in, that you have had that level of success. So you know what it takes to actually go out and get clients. Because I want you all to remember that I think it's 80% of businesses fail. I think it's even higher now. They say like 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And that's because of cash flow. So you want to make sure that you've got yourself set up for success when you already have income coming in from the business. And I love that you said 6 to 12 months, your emergency fund, because, and I would even say, even thinking about what you're going to be investing in your business in those first couple of years. Because even if you've got some income coming in, there are investments that you need to make. So most businesses spend about $80,000 a year for the first 3 years to get their businesses up and running. So in addition to what you're, that 80,000 is just kind of that baseline, which kind of goes into, you can't just charge the 100 an hour because that doesn't cover all of those additional expenses. So you really need to know the numbers, know where you're coming from. How do you make that happen, and getting all those things in place? So, I love the talk about finances because I don't know if you know, I'm a recovering CPA. And
yes,
so when I first started my business, I was like, you know what? I don't need to know the numbers. Like, I'm out of that business. Why do I have to keep track of all of this? And it wasn't until I went back and actually started focusing on the right numbers, right? It's not just focusing on numbers, it's focusing on the right numbers to understand what it's going to take for me to get to the level that I wanted to get to in order to replace the income that I previously had. Then that's when the success came. That's when things started to shift in the business. So I love those tips. I love that you're doing this. So what else do you think a person needs to have in place when making that transition from going from being an employee to an entrepreneur?
Well, you just hit on that, knowing your numbers, like really what is it going to cost to run your business? And then how much of a markup do you need to put above those expenses so that you can actually live? You know, the other piece of the puzzle, because you figured out a way to get clients, you've got emergency savings set up. Now you have an understanding what your numbers are. And I said it a little bit ago, but who is your ideal client? Like, there are so many of us business owners that start out and we take any single client that comes our way. I did it. I created a business when I went on my own back in 2008. Anybody that ever is willing to listen, I tell them I started my business August 1st, 2008. 45 days later, Lehman went bankrupt and the market went through the basement. And my business plan was built upon, a market at such. And when I'm charging a percentage of assets, well, the assets go down, my revenues went down, and my expenses only went up.
Mhm.
What I would say is you got to know your numbers, and you got to have then an understanding of who is your ideal client, so that when you're working with the people that you are going to spend your time with, that is very valuable to them, but also you're getting paid what you're worth in return. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I started my practice, I took anybody who came in the door, and it created a mess that has taken me years to clean up, to get it to where it's right sized, so that it allows me to have a life, not have a job that my life supports. I want a life that my business supports. And so what I would say is start really honing in on who your ideal client is. Now, that's hard if you're just doing this as a side hustle, but maybe it's not. Maybe you can really dial in, like, who do you do your best work with, and try to
Mhm.
focus there. And so
Absolutely.
once you have those pieces starting to figure out, well, then it becomes, it starts to kind of just become, okay, what comes up next that we have to take care of? Like, what is the next piece of the puzzle that we need to deal with? If you start having tremendous success, do you need to go down the road of an LLC and then maybe filing as an S corp? That's getting really technical, but those are the things that start to come into play when you start to have success. And then, do you need to go down a retirement plan route? The answer is yes. If you have a business that you were working for and you've built up a 401k or a retirement plan of some kind, you're going to want to most likely take that with you. Well, you might want to then start a solo 401k and move that money into there.
Mhm.
Now, I don't always advise this, but a solo 401k has a loan provision feature. And I'm almost cringing saying it, but it has a loan provision feature that if you do move your business, your 401k over, you start a solo 401k, you can create a loan with a loan provision in there that would allow you, that if things really got bad, you could do a 401k loan to yourself and pay yourself back plus interest. So
Mhm.
those are some more technical things that come into play, but can you get revenues? Can you watch your numbers and know your expenses? Make sure you're working with the right people. If you take care of those three things, everything just starts to just become kind of like checking boxes, in my opinion. But then again, I've been doing this for 26 years now. So
Yeah, so it comes a little more natural for you now, but great advice. I mean, getting those clients, knowing your numbers and knowing where you're headed and some of those things. So, I love the advice about the 401k because I think that's one of the things that new business owners kind of just put off to the side. And they're like, I'll get to that when I'm making a good profit, when I've got additional income coming in. And I think setting some of those habits up right from the start are a good practice of knowing that you are going to be setting aside a certain percent. And do you have certain recommendations for people as they're getting going? Like, where do you start with some of those things?
oh, well, the first thing I say is when you start to have success, you need to max those things out. I mean, but
Mm,
when and so if you're 50 years of age or older, you can put 20,500 into a solo K plus another 25% or whatever your W-2 or your bottom line is. But let's just say you're going, I know I got to do something. I just need to start. I tell some of my clients, I don't care what we do. Let's just go $100 a month into something, whether
Yeah.
it's a Roth IRA, an IRA, or a SEP or a simple IRA. Let's just start. And then what I do with my clients is then we just step them up. We just keep
Mhm.
taking steps up. So each year we go from 100 to 200, or we might go from 100 to 500 because they've achieved another level of success. And the big thing is what I'm talking about mostly, other than the Roth IRA, is then tax deductible retirement plans. Some people could argue it's way better to put everything into a Roth, but when you start to achieve a level of success, you're going to need some tax deductions. And as a solopreneur, as a solo business owner, unless you are employing a bunch of people or have a bunch of equipment, which most people are not, because that's very expensive to do, um, you don't have a lot of tax deductions. One of your best tax deductions is going to be a retirement plan.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And so I know you are actually launching your book today. So I see that behind you. Tell us a little bit about your book. What's it about? And congratulations. So exciting. Books are incredibly valuable when you are a business owner and being able to share that knowledge and information with people. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Thank you. Thank you. The book is called The Solopreneur's Money Manifesto: How to Master Your Finances and Create the Life You Want. And what it basically is 26 years of me being in the industry, going, all right, who do I really truly love working with, which is solopreneurs, and what is the simplest way that I could give them a roadmap to follow? Because I can only handle so many people a year. There's plenty of great advisors out there, but there's also people here that are like, I really don't feel like I need an advisor. I'd rather just do this myself. Well, what I did was I created a how-to book that starts with getting an understanding of what you're really trying to do in this world with your life. And so we start off the book with what's called a life wheel. And I stole it from the coaching world. I was involved in a coaching program and the life wheel came out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for my clients. And so the life wheel is an assessment of how is your life? I'm not talking just your money, your life. How's your relationships? How are your friendships? How's your romance piece? Do you live where you want to live? How is your money? How is your business? And so there's a pie chart that you kind of really dot plot where your life is and how you feel your life is as an initial assessment so that you can start to understand what are you trying to do with your life, and then how can you take the finances that you're building to support that life, but also craft that life that you want. So you might go through and some people will go through and it's not even a round circle because it's a pie chart, but you're charting on numbers and you don't have a wheel that would actually roll. And so what I do in the book is I start with that. What are you trying to do with your life? What are you trying to do with your money so that we can then make decisions with your money and your business and your life as we go through? And then it becomes a how-to book on everything from, how much money should you have set aside in savings? How much money should you have set aside for retirement, or what should you do retirement? I talk about things such as protection. It's never fun to talk about protection, but it's life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, and giving my experience as what has worked best for most of my clients over the years. I go into talking about retirement plans and the different kinds that are out there and all kinds of things that even help you with your business. And so it's really meant to be a how-to book that you can follow step by step. And then I include a case study in there so that you can actually read a case study and go, oh, that's like me, or oh, that's not like me. But you can start to take someone else's case study and put it into your world to go, okay, here's how I could use this to help master my finances so I can create the life that I want.
I love that. It sounds like this simplified guide for how to handle your money. And, that's what people need because most people don't have that finance background as solopreneurs. They've done something else in their career and they're jumping into this with not as much financial knowledge as they probably need. And so it sounds like this is an amazing book for those solopreneurs out there. So I want to encourage all of our listeners to go out and grab that. Where can they get that at?
Well, you can go to Amazon to get it, or you can go to my website for my book. Is called solopreneurmoney.com. And on that website, you can actually, you can download the book, you can purchase the book. You can also go to Amazon. And right now, from now until I think Monday of next week, it's 99-cent Kindle download. So we're running a promo right now, 99-cent Kindle download that you can go to Amazon right now and download it for 99 cents. And if you're going to do that, for those of you that are listening that might jump on that, please give me a review. Even if you haven't read the book, maybe give me a, hey, I at least saw you on Facebook. It was, good to listen to you. But yeah, 99-cent Kindle download right now. Amazon is where you're going to be able to find the book all the time.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. So go grab that book this week for 99 cents. I'm going to grab mine. And yes, I love that you brought up the review because it's so critical. And for those of you who haven't written a book yet, you won't realize this until you actually write your book, but you support other authors, support other people who are out there doing their work, and give them those 5-star reviews when you like their work. Share with others the information that they're providing when it provides value to you, because that's what it's about, being a solopreneur and getting your message out there. And it takes a tribe to help you get out. So help others out as well. So I wanted you to go grab that. And you had a free something you want to give them as well, didn't you?
Well, there's a couple things. One, there's a free chapter that you
Mhm.
can actually download. So you can download the first chapter of the book. But I also, if you go to my website, the solopreneurmoney.com, there's a resources page, and there's tons of checklists that are on there that you can go. We're going to ask you for your email. I'm not going to spam you. I'm going to send you an email once a month that has good information. But in there, you're going to be basically be able to then go through and check different checklists that actually are great for you in running your business. And one of my buddies who is a solopreneur, actually, he's another financial advisor, was listening to my podcast, and he went and downloaded it. I'm like, dude, what are you downloading my stuff for? And he's like, I'm thinking about bringing my wife into the business with me, and I want to know if it's going to work. And well, I created a checklist. So you think you want your spouse to come into the business.
Mm.
And it was born out of an exercise of me trying to get my wife to come to work with me.
Yeah.
She's not working with me. All right. And I mean, she would be amazing, but she didn't want to do the work. And
Yeah.
so there's this checklist, because there's so many of us solopreneurs that we look at our spouses and we go, oh man, he or she would be awesome in this business. I mean, we could work together. It'd be great. And well, yes, but they got to want to do it. They got to want to do that work, whatever it might be. And so I have tons of checklists. And so that's something you can just go download for free, and things that'll really help you with some of those tough decisions that you're trying to make. Because one of the things as solopreneurs that I found myself, because I'm a solopreneur, is it's lonely. It's a
Mhm.
lonely life at times, because you don't always have someone to walk out of the office and go next door and say, hey, I got this idea. What do you think? Or, hey, I got this problem. How have you fixed this? And we all have a network that we reach out to. And I'm sure the community that you're creating fosters that, which is amazing. But sometimes you just need to be able to pull something up and go, all right, talk me through this so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And especially when you come from organizations where you had your peer group, and you may have had employees, and you had your bosses, there was all these people surrounding you that at any given point, you can pick up the phone or walk into someone's office and have that conversation. And it's true, when you go into business, it can feel a little like confinement in some ways. And so it's so important to be in the right groups, have the right people giving you that support, having the right coaches in place to give you that mentorship and the guidance that you need to help keep you on track, but also just having those people that you can call and you're like, okay, I need to run this by you. What do you think? So having your own peer group in a sense as well. So I have my own mastermind groups that I've created with some of my peers. We do this as part of our business school, and making sure people have accountability partners to work with together. so that you have that connection, because it's so critical to help you grow. So thank you so much, Gabe. This has been so informative. And if you guys have questions, leave them in the comments. So glad you're here. Give us some hearts, give us some thumbs up. Let us know you were here watching and what you got the most out of this. And so, I always leave you all with a little challenge. So our challenge for you today, I'm just going to challenge you to go get his book, because he is in the middle of a launch. We want to support him, and you are going to get so much value out of this if you actually go read it, implement it, and look at what you need to do for your business from a money standpoint. How do you set yourself up for success on the finance side? It is so critical. Thank you, Gabe. It was so great having you here.
Thank you, Tami. Appreciate it.
Awesome. We will see you all next week. I hope you have an amazing week.